All right, so we ran into some trouble installing these lower control arms. I assume they came from Rock Auto because they were included with the last S12 that I bought. But yeah, I thought these were S13s. They kind of look like S13s, and the bolts line up like S13s, except this has an S12 ball joint. But looking on Rock Auto, majority of them are shaped just like this. Here. So on these, you'll be able to see that the bolts for the tension rod are at an angle. And if we go over to a stock one, they're perpendicular to the control arm. So let me go back over here and take a look. You'll see that I can't get anything through that hole because, well, there is none. So I did mark the inside of that with a Sharpie, silver Sharpie, and a center point with black. Maybe we can see it a little bit. So whenever I drop this arm back off, I'm thinking about drilling a hole and see how that lines up. And at the same time, I'm going to go get some new ball joints and S13 poly bushings for the back end of this control arm. We'll push in a new ball joint and a new bushing and just refurbish the original. I think it can be done for like under 25 bucks. So I'm going to start taking this apart. We'll pop this ball joint out, and I have a bearing puller or a bushing puller. This I think came with my maybe ISR solid bushings, or maybe this came from Dayton 1 whenever I did my knuckles on my G35. But either way, I can press out some bushings, and we'll see if we can refresh this turd, polish it up. All right, now I may have gone over this in another video. Today we are looking at replacing the ball joint and the bushing of the original S12 control arm. We are using Energy S13 bushings. They fit, they're the same. And here we have the box number for reference. And because these were so cheap, and you never know when you're going to be able to find S12 parts again, I ordered 4 just in case. So the idea is, per the Energy suspension site, it says you'll want to burn or cut these out. So I got a new torch. I'm going to try to burn out these bushings. Do not remove the outer race on these. They are still used when you press in the new rubber or polyurethane bushings. So do not remove that outer race. We're just going to burn it. Get all that rubber and inner tubing out of here. And I've already pressed one ball joint out. I did that with a hammer and a socket, so that's not too bad. So we'll start off by burning the rubber and getting the new bushings. All right, just let those burn for a bit. There we go. Inner core pulls out just fine. Do the same here. And then we'll torch these again. All right, it started to rain outside. We'll bring this back in. Got it in the vise. Make sure it's clamped down tight. I mean, it's burnt pretty well in there. We'll try to knock it out. And it's moving. And there it goes. I'll go grab the other one, see if we can get that to come out as nicely. All right, more fire. Something tells me this isn't going to come out as clean. Yeah, there's still a little bit of junk in there. That's easily cleaned up. I'll hit it with some more fire and scrape it out. And we'll be ready to push in new bushings. Looks good. We'll get this other ball joint banged out of there. Then I'm going to wash these, paint them, new bushings. Be like new. Rubber. This one was in better shape than the other, so there's still some grease in there. But yeah, that'll knock out. Maybe. I've cleaned up the control arms. I've had them sit in a hot bucket of water with some cleaning concentrate. Let them soak for a few hours. Brushed them, Brillo scrubbed them. They're pretty well prepped. I'm going to get them dried off, and I'm going to look inside the spots for the bushings. There's still just a little bit of rubber sticking in there, so I'm going to try to torch them and brush them just a little bit more. But once that's done, I'm going to use the propane, so a little less heat than the MAP, just to heat these things up. It gives it a little bit better adhesion when it comes to paint. We'll get these strung up and painted. All right, we're going to start by using some black primer provided by my friends over at Kent Automotive. Probably doesn't need a prime. I mean, we've got adhesion from the original paint, but let's just make a good cover here. Hope that's not supposed to be silly string. It's got a nice fan pattern to it. All right. Let that sit for a bit. Come back and hit it with another. And just say, give it 5 minutes flash before the second coat, so we'll come back and check it out here in a minute. All right, it's been a little more than 5 minutes. That seems to have flashed pretty well. Dry it to the touch. Let's flip it over and hit the other side, and then we'll come back and do a second layer on everything. All right, so these are looking pretty good. I just ran with one layer of the primer on these. I'm about to make a run to AutoZone so I can return a spring compressor. While I'm there, I'm going to grab some gloss black paint. We'll come back and gloss these up, and then I'm going to clean the insides of these back out again with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. Same down here, and then we'll see about pressing in the ball joint and bushing. Standard Rust-Oleum glossy enamel. All right, it's still raining, but I did get a coat on the gloss, so these things look like new. Looking pretty good inside and out. Decent coverage. I mean, they still had paint on them. I just wanted them to look a little fresher. Mitigate some of the rust that we get here in the Midwest. So we're covered. But the next idea here is we're going to try to clean out the bores of these bushings, at least the outer race here. So with Energy, they say leave this. Do not press out the outer race. But we need this to be clean on the inside to push in our new bearing. So, again, from our friends over at Lawson Products, sister company is Kent Automotive. I have a medium round tip, and I'm going to try to just use it on my drill and brush out the inside. We'll see if that fits or not. Otherwise, I'm going to try to find some emery cloth or something to scrub the insides, polish it up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Just got to push it to the correct side. Look at all that rust dust coming out of there. Oh boy, now let's see if I can get it back out. Yeah, I'll hit that just a little bit more, see if I can turn on my flash. Yeah, I'll clean that up, polish it up, but a lot of that rubber debris and rust is coming out. There's more on that side. We'll try to get that all polished up. I'll do the same to the other, and then we might start pushing in some bushings. All right. Here we have our Energy urethane bushings. We got our inner races as well as, I think, a jar of grease. Let's see how these line up. All right, we'll see if I manage to mess this up or not. Move these over. So, coming two different sides. This one has like an inner lip there. You can see that this one has a little tapered lip on it. If we take a look at our arm, we can see here that there is just a little bit of a lip, which I'm assuming this one will go in, sit right there on that lip. And then on the other side, where that sticks out, that cup should go right over the top of it. So I'm going to try to grease these up, grease the inside, and push them in. I think I'm going to try to use my bench vise to do this, and then we'll do the same. We'll grease up the inner sleeve and push that in. Grease cup. That's the good stuff. Maybe play some berry white before you get started. Try to wipe my hands off a little bit here, and we'll move to the bench vise. Start on the side with the cup on the edge. Put it on this lip. is pretty smooth. It's seated nicely. Trying not to overdo it and crush the bushing. I'm making a mess. That one just kind of sets in there until you get to that lip. There we go, that's pretty painless. And then we'll grease up the center and the pin, push that in. Sure if I'm going to have enough space to do that on this thing. I might have to figure out an alternative method. Yep. Actually, I could do this by hand. Maybe. So I don't destroy my palm, I'm going to get a piece of wood. It's going. I just got to put my 270-pound ass behind it. There we go. Center pin is in. Now the real moment of truth is to see if it all fits on the car. So this goes to the right side. And right now I have cars stacked up. And it's raining. I really don't want to pull these out, but maybe I can figure something out here. All right, moment of truth. We'll see if these bushings work. Hopefully I didn't go through all that for nothing. And wow, perfect. That is actually unexpected. I'm glad it worked. Here we go. And now, to figure out how to get the ball joint in. I think I'm going to go with the caveman method and find some sort of hammer in, and hopefully I don't have to beat the shit out of my new paint job. All right, so here's the ball joints I got. As I mentioned earlier, I bought a bunch of these. They were wholesaler, I don't know, sale, warehouse closing, whatever. Something I didn't think about is these don't have a Zerk fitting on them. So they do come with a little pouch of grease, which I'm not super happy about, but it's going to be a little harder to maintain down the road. But hopefully these hold up for a few years before having to do any major service. Anyway, these come packaged pretty nicely. There's your nylon locking nut, boot, snap ring. And then be careful, there are two rings here, one for the top and the bottom of the boot. And those are going to be fun to get on and off. And then the ball joint itself. Now to take note, there's this taper here. This goes to the inside. I'm going to point here to the right. So, there we go. You want that facing to the inside of the car. Whenever you're at angle or cambered or whatever, that gives it more room to move in. So make sure when you're putting these in, they are directional. Be it, you know, the left side or the right side. This is the right control arm. This will face the inside. Now I'm going to try to find a way to push this in. All right, this should be a super fun experiment. I happen to have another bearing tool, and it fits pretty nicely around the edge of the ball joint. There's just a little give there, but I think it's enough to keep it straight. We're going to try to push that in, keep it supported here on the brick and wood, and try to hammer it down through the top. Let's see if we can do this without breaking shit. Again, make sure that goes towards the inside. Try to do this without crushing a finger. Alright, let's get it started. Farther in. Just a few more good whacks. All right, it's seated. All right, so managed to do that reasonably easy. I mean, I was just being impatient, so my paint's a little messed up. I can always touch that up later if I want. It's no big, it's still coated underneath. I still see the old paint. Good. Ball joint is in. Let's go ahead and get our snap ring on. Got pliers. There we go, that goes on the bottom. The next one up is for the boot. And according to the instructions that came with it, it's kind of greasy. It does say to apply grease up into the cup. So I'm just going to fill this with the grease that was applied. We'll set it down and then put the other rings on. It's not a lot of grease. It doesn't seem to make much sense to me, honestly, but that's what they say. That's what I'll do. All right, take number 3 here. You know, when in doubt, go to YouTube. I will link the channel down below, but I found another gentleman who had this tip using zip ties. And you can use that to pull the ring apart as you slide down. So let's give that a try. Did I get it? Oh, I overshot it. There. Wow, that was a lot easier. Now it's seated. I'll go ahead and snip the tips here so I can reuse it on the second one. That's awesome. All right. All right. Put the knuckle back on, make sure you have the correct one. These have nylon lock nuts instead of the castle nut, so get it wrenched down first. Might go the right direction. Get it good and tight. I'm going to get a bar to hold on to this with. All right, we got the torque wrench set at 110 foot-pounds, and we'll aim for that ballpark of 96 to 120. And hopefully the bench holds that sort of torque. And hopefully that ball joint isn't rotating with it. Yep, I think we're as far down as we're gonna go. Don't want to overdo it and just strip out that nylon in there, so we'll call that good and hopefully I don't have any issues. That one hit. Maybe I should try the other one again. While we're doing bushings, I'm going to go ahead and get the sway bar out of here. It's a nut and a bolt on each side. If I can, there's the bolt. I'll get those zipped off. We'll pull this out and get some new bushings put on this. Washer in the nut on the back. Let's do this all loosely so it Just gets into place. For the knuckle, 2 bolts with locking washers. I did put a little bit of anti-seize on here because this tends to be a rusted and stuck part. Let's do that second. Here's another bolt. Gently with it. I'll torque this down later. I'm just tightening it up, getting a little snug. All right. And later on, I will replace the bushing on the It's late. I'm tired. Lock washer and a nut on the bottom. And because that all right, almost looks like a full suspension setup. All these new parts. Got brakes, rotors, got all new shocks up there. Refurbished control arm, bushings, ball joints, like it's coming together. Hope that was somewhat entertaining to watch, maybe a little informative. I'll get the rest of this put back together and we'll be back on the road soon. So you don't have to go hunting for the service manual. I took these snips here, we'll put them on the screen. I'll leave these up for a few seconds or pause it if you need. Check all your torque and make sure things are assembled correctly.